Alright, so welcome back, guys, to another Steven Revisi-Verse. Today we're going over theories. Again, this is the series where I go back through Steven Universe episode by episode, as well as my own old content. It's doing so well. Not going to re-record it, though. You guys like it when I screw up. For new insights on the show, because I really do feel like the show deserves not a second look, but yet another look, even now that it's over. I also kind of have been thinking about expanding this out to go over other old theories, like ones that got popular on like blog sites and stuff. So, like, in case that ends up happening, send me links. Send me links to, like, your favorite theory that got circulated around online or whatever, so I can take a look at those in the future, maybe. But yeah, that's the gist of it. We're revisiting the show, hence the name. Anyway, today we're looking at a few of my own theories, as I said, ones that, well, I don't remember the specific contents of these videos perfectly, because I haven't rewatched them in a while. They are ones that I remember, like, even to this day, I still think the core theory is still kind of possible. First of all, we're looking at who was Pearl made for. Then after that, we're going to be looking at the last of these second, but I'm going to save it for last because I really like this one. We're going to look at my theory about Steven's subconscious and the fact that his subconscious dreamings and stuff are sometimes information from Rose that he's only able to access in that way. And then also the geode theory, which I might actually save for last. in this video, even though it's the second out of these three chronologically, because I still really like that theory. I still really think I was onto something with that one. These are all pretty short. The longest one is about 8.5 minutes. So this isn't going to be a super long video. I also don't know how much minute-to-minute commentary I'm going to have to do on these. I might just rewatch them for the most part, and then summarize my thoughts on them after. I don't know about these, because I do remember these being fairly simple theories. I kind of half tried to pad them out a little bit with some other ideas, which I do from time to time in my videos. I'll like throw in a tangent or two. I don't know how relevant those little tangents are going to be to the revisits, but we'll see. We'll see as we go. Let's go ahead and jump right into this first one.
Steven Universe and all associated images are property of
the old
Network,
intro.
Rebekah Sugar, and any and all other respective owners.
I should start doing something like this again.
There has been a lot of talk about Pearl lately. Since the most recent Steven bomb and the reveal of 2 other Pearls, details present on those new characters have gotten the fandom speculating on Pearls as a whole. I noticed the same details myself, and I just couldn't help discussing them a bit. Especially after just talking about Rose and Garnet, and with an Amethyst theory coming up eventually. I'm not really sure where I'm going to fit that into the schedule. But
what Amethyst theory am I talking about there? Hold on. Did I ever do an Amethyst theory? I remember I wanted to do one, but I can't remember what it ended up being. Did I never do one? Have I never done a theory about Amethyst? I mean, it would make sense. Her arc wrapped up so completely. Like, every time I kind of had a theory about where her arc was going, we'd get another episode that furthered her arc in basically that specific way, so I didn't even bother. Did I never do an Amethyst theory? I'm going to have to do an Amethyst theory of some kind. I mean, there's one that's kind of an Amethyst theory. Dear God. See, that's just not fair to Amethyst. I love Amethyst so much. Okay, I'm gonna have to come up with an Amethyst theory, just for funsies. Yeah. So I still go on tangents even today, obviously.
Firstly, I want to address the fact that they seem like they might be a bit smaller than our Pearl. I want to flat out say that I don't think that they are. Perspective and character size relationships are often a little wonky in Steven Universe, so I'm going to assume that they are both the same size as our Pearl, and that any indications otherwise are simply incorrect scaling, at least until I am proven otherwise.
Which was a good call, I think.
That said, the only real similarities between the new Pearls and our Pearl are their similar body types. And the only thing that the two new pearls have in common are their gemstone placements. The radically different colors of the three pearls only make sense if we assume that each pearl was made specifically to resemble their owner, and that, by extension, most pearls are designed to resemble their owners.
And that turned out to be really accurate. I think I really hit the nail on the head with that one, but they telegraphed this one super hard. We were supposed to be able to figure this out, right?
Yellow and blue diamond each share the same gemstone placement, not just with each other, but with their pearls as well. And their pearls each bear paler versions of the diamond's color palettes. Are pearls even made in kindergartens like other gems, or are they made using a different method altogether?
Yeah.
And sadly, I simply don't have the answers to these questions, as there is very little evidence either way for either of them.
And I still don't have an answer. They never really answered that in the show. We get to see a little bit of how pearls are customized, but it seems like that happens after their creation. There's some less than canon stuff that the crew has said about it, but that's really all we have to go on. It's one of the things I wish they had at least hinted at more than they did.
However, I said that I also wanted to address who I think that our pearl was made for. For a long time, the majority of fans, including myself, assumed that she used to belong to Rose. As I mentioned in my Rose Diamond Theory video, based on the placements of the symbols in the 4-diamond insignia, it can be assumed that, even if Rose is not Pink Diamond does have her gemstone in her midriff, just like Rose did.
Yeah.
Pearl, however, does not. Her gemstone is in her forehead. While we don't see her specifically, we do see a mural of White Diamond on the moon base, and she has the exact same gem placement as Pearl. The only hang-ups are Pearl's pinkish hair and the pink diamond symbols present on her spacesuit, as well as the diamonds that she contributes to the designs of sardonyx and rainbow quartz. Now, is it possible that Pearl was made for White Diamond, but that she ended up in Pink Diamond's court instead? Well, yeah, I think so.
And that's really the part of this theory that I want to touch on the most, revisiting it. I go into a bit here. I watched further into the video than where I stopped. I go a little bit into how I think she was repurposed later because she was defective. It wasn't good enough for White Diamond. But I do think that this core theory, as it stands, that she was originally, let's say for lack of a better term, commissioned by White Diamond and then given to Pink Diamond later, I think that's true. I still think that's true. I think after Pink's original pearl was taken away, White Diamond commissioned a new pearl for her to give her to try to make her happy, as the crew has said was Pearl's original purpose. I think that if she was commissioned, though, by White Diamond and then gifted to Pink, she would have White Diamond's gem placement and basic complexion, and that the rest of that stuff would be customized later by Pink. Maybe there was even some insidiousness to it, too, that White specifically commissioned her with a more White Diamond-esque base color palette and design to remind Pink that she had already lost the pearl commissioned by her. I think that's a thing that White Diamond at that time would have done. It has that, it drips that, reeks of that abusive, manipulative parent energy, right? So yeah, I actually think, based on the evidence that we've gotten in and out of the show, that one still holds up, just not in exactly the form I presented it in. I still like the idea that she was considered defective and then just handed down later. But like, I'm also pretty sure that the defect that Jasper was talking about, because Jasper called her defective at one point, was just the fact that she asserted her free will at all. So I don't know if she was necessarily defective in like an obvious way before that, right? I don't know, it's worth thinking about. By the way, this clear stuff that comes out of the faucets in your kitchen and your bathroom, you could drink that. It's pretty good. Might have to start interspersing my regular coffee and soda with that a little more often. Let's go into the Steven subconscious one next.
While some of his powers seem to come directly from his gemstone and others seem to be part of his biology, they are all inherited from his mother, and they all have a common component, that being that they are influenced by Steven's psychology. Similarly, Steven's bubble is first summoned when he has an instinct to save someone from danger. However, there seems to be an additional component to Steven's abilities, that being that they are also affected by his subconscious.
Yep.
And it isn't just something like Steven having a subconscious and the other gems not having one, because we know that that's not true. We see in, and
Very
I'm
true.
probably not pronouncing this correctly, Chili Teed, that all gems can sleep and dream, which means that they do have subconscious mind. In the episode Rose's Room, Steven lost control of the titular room because his subconscious desire to have a place where he could be entirely on his own clashed with his desire to leave and return to the outside world. He knew that it was time for him to go back outside the room, but he didn't actually want to go on a subconscious level, so the room tried to give him both at the same time by creating the outside world inside the room.
Yeah.
It wasn't until he realized and subsequently admitted the truth that the room let him out. We see this again in Open Book when a version of Connie that was created by Rose's room forced Steven to admit the truth to the real Connie.
And it's specifically because of stuff like this that I wish he had gone into that room more often on the show. I don't know if this happened before or after the episode where he actually manifested Rose with the room, but this came out before. Yeah, this definitely came out before, because it would have had to, because I definitely feel like that episode, depending on how you read it, proves this theory.
And we've seen unusual behavior from Steven's subconscious outside of the room as well. Twice, Steven has had dreams of the fictional character Dogcopter.
Yeah.
Fictional within their world, that is. Except that in each of these instances, Dogcopter is the same pink color of Steven's shirt, rather than the gray that he is in his movie trailer. The first of these dreams is in Lion 3 straight to video, when Lion is trying to show Steven the interior of his mane. In the dream, Dogcopter tells Steven to hold his breath. It is at this very moment that Lion tried to shove Steven's head into the pocket dimension, where there is no air. It's as if Dogcopter knew what Lion was going to do. Dogcopter appeared again in Chili Teed, an episode where Steven is specifically trying to tap into his subconscious in an attempt to contact Lapis Lazuli. And in that dream, Dogcopter runs, or rather flies away, leading Steven to follow and end up in the part of his dream where he actually makes contact with Lapis. In Lion 3, before he warns Steven that he's not going to be able to breathe soon, we even see Dogcopter giving Steven advice. It's a little nonsensical and hard to follow, but it boils down to be yourself. Don't change who you are to conform. Essentially, he tells Steven, love yourself. The same advice that Rose gives Steven later in her video to him.
And that's really what this one boils down to. We know for a fact from one of the earliest canon publications meant to expand the information base of this show, the Guide to the Crystal Gems, that everything that was Rose is now a part of Steven somehow or some way. That would have to include her memories, the data that made up her memories. And so the basis of this theory is that information, since Steven's not a gem, right? He doesn't have the same ability to recall information that a literal computer would. That information got kind of jumbled up, and now it manifests through his subconscious. That Rose, what exists of her psyche, is within his subconscious, guiding him from time to time, and remaining with him in as complete a way as Rose possibly can, given the fact that she doesn't technically exist anymore. And that Dogcopter, the little pink whale, and then even later, after this video is made, the actual physical manifestation of Rose made by the room are all basically extensions of his subconscious. The Dogcopter are extensions of his subconscious within the dreamscape of his mind, and the others are extensions of his subconscious more or less into the real world. That in that final Rose's Room episode, what was that one called? Storm in the Room, I think. He did actually kind of meet Rose in person for the first time ever. And that if he could learn how to tap into this more effectively, he could actually, hold conversations with his mom, kind of. And maybe even tap into some of her knowledge. And there's been other instances where this happened too, where he, remembered a pink diamond memory while he was fused with Connie, right? I definitely feel like the show was telling us that that Rose's memories are stored within Steven's subconscious mind, and the pink color of all these various things, the little pink whale from the room, the pink dream Dogcopter, were meant to tell us that, because pink things are associated with Rose. They have been since the very start of the show. That's just part of her motif. So again, like maybe some of the specifics in this one are a little out there, but I think this one's pretty true. The show might have even supported this one a little better than the last one. We're actually just going to jump right back to the geode theory now, which isn't as well supported by the show, but I still like this one. I like this one a lot.
One object from Steven Universe that I don't see people talking about enough is the geode. Yeah, that thing from the episode where Greg pretended to have a busted leg so he could hang with his son. That thing. You may not have thought about it since that episode because it was placed so firmly in the background of that narrative. And yet it is said that if the geode breaks open, it will release a storm that will cover the earth and, according to the crystal gems, vaporize everyone's bodies.
And I love, one of the things I love about Steven Universe is that something that potentially devastating was the B-plot of a goofy comic relief episode. It also had some pathos in it because of the whole psychology thing with Steven, which I even referenced in the theory we literally just looked at.
And the geode wasn't just some one-off overpowered thing like the Glass of Time or the duplication wand from Onion Trade.
Otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it.
Again in Warp Tour, the first episode where we learn anything about the workings of the warps. Keep that in mind because it will be important later. It's clear to me that the geode is an important object, one that is much more important than its part in the story so far would lead you to believe. So that begs the question, how is it important? And what exactly is it? I'm not saying that it wouldn't harm humans at all, but from the way the dialogue is handled, it really does feel like it's more immediately harmful to gems. All of that said, we now know why the geode was made. It was made specifically to contain this synthetic storm. But the storm itself was also made by someone, almost definitely the gems themselves. So what was the storm made for? There are a lot of possibilities, but the one that I find the most likely is that the storm was made to power something. Remember how I said to keep in mind that the geode was shown for the second and final time in an episode where we learned more about the warps? Well, what did we learn in that episode about the warps? We learned that the warps are only local to Earth, that they are connected to each other all the time, and that warps from other planets must come through galaxy warps. We also saw, for the first time, what it looks like outside of the warp stream. This is where I think that the reason for showing the geode in this episode came in.
Look at it.
Notice the similarity between the pattern on the geode and the pattern visible in the far distance when looking at the space outside of the warp stream. They aren't perfectly identical, but they're definitely similar. And what else do we see outside of the warp stream in the far, far distance? Clouds. As if the warps share the warp space with an enormous storm.
Yep.
I think that the warps on Earth all pass through the geode, drawing the power needed to sustain them from the storm which constantly spins around the far outer edge of the geode's interior. This also means that other gem-controlled planets probably each have their own geode, and that there's also likely a much larger geode somewhere in space which contains all of the galaxy warps.
And that's the gist of the theory. The video is already basically over. I still love this theory. I think it makes so much sense. It combines so many things we know about the abilities of gems and their technology and the way they function. Like, there's an alternative theory that the geode was some kind of weapon that was dropped to try to destroy the rebels, or that the rebels dropped to try to destroy the homeworld gems during the war since it's in a crater. But it's also possible that that's just how they deployed it to the planet, was they dropped it from orbit, and that it's not supposed to be, like, it's not fragile enough that you're supposed to have to worry about it. It just wore out with time or something, right? Or maybe additional damage was done to it because one side or the other tried to fracture it during the war to end the war, and that's where the crack came from. But I like this so much better. It feels so much better because it explains something that doesn't make sense, and that is the environment outside of the warps. Why does it look like that if we're not supposed to assume it has something to do with the other weird, unexplained storm in the show, that being the one inside the geode? I don't know. It feels like it connects too much for it not to be something, and I just wish they had explained the geode more in the show. I really want the crew to see this theory, this geode theory, and comment on it, like, really badly. But I'm not so desperate that I'm gonna, like, tweet it at them or something. I mean, you guys could if you wanted to, I guess. But also, don't harass the crew over this. I'm just kidding. This is a joke, I promise. Except not really. It mostly is. I just really like this theory. I think while the other two in this video, I think the show kind of half proves them as it goes on, and it doesn't half prove this one. This is still my favorite of the three. I can't even place why, except that I feel kind of proud of the fact that I made this connection. I don't know. It could be nothing. But what do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of this theory in particular, but also the other two that we talked about today, obviously? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, you might as well like the video and share it with anyone else you think would enjoy my content. You can also check out the links to my various social medias, as well as the many ways you can help out the channel. Those will be in the video description, but either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.